Hi and welcome to Leitrim Daily. This is Kiss My Arts and I am joined today by Brendan Murray of the Glens Centre. Brendan, welcome to the programme.
Delighted to be here. Thanks, Breifne.
My pleasure. Brendan, thank you so much for hosting us. And we had a live show here in the Glens Centre, a preview of the county final, which went very well. We were delighted with the crowd, with the atmosphere, with the venue. It was just really first class. So thank you very much for looking after us.
And thank you for coming in. On our part, it was great to have, I suppose, a lot of people that were there, and I said it on the night, that would not normally engage with the Glens. So we're always very open to try and get new people in that mightn't be familiar with the Glens. And of course, the GAA is the heart and soul of every town in Ireland. So it was great, and it was a fantastic night. I was very impressed, yeah.
Tell us a bit about the centre itself, the origin of where it came from and how it came into being.
Well, the Glens started around 1994. There was a local group committee. Pryn Dignan would have been one of the leading lights, and his wife Betty, and Hubert McMorrow, and there were others who were probably, I wouldn't be familiar with them all. And they were, I suppose, keenly interested in theatre particularly. And the old Methodist church was here, and they managed to get funding, which was a fantastic achievement. But they also had the foresight to build on offices out the back and an apartment that can be used for visiting artists. And then it developed over the years into, I suppose, what's a fully fledged arts centre now. And it was funny when you were coming in earlier this morning and we had the active age group coming in, and you were saying, my God, it's very busy here. And it's multifaceted now. It's not just the original theatre as they saw it, because they were all interested in theatre. They just wanted a place to put on their plays. We're now Arts Council funded. We're funded by Pobble, which is very vital to our sustainability, and Leitrim County Council. And we have about 7-8 staff now, all on varying part-time contracts, including myself. I'm only here a year and a half, so I'm only a blow-in. But it's a remarkable facility, incredible facility. It's an incredible achievement. It's an incredible... it says about the town, the uniqueness of Manorhamilton, and I genuinely mean that, because I've been welcomed here with open arms. I'm very conscious you come in as a blow-in and who the hell is he and what's his ideas and what's he at, but they've been incredibly positive. And because I think there's a great pride in, a huge element of the community in the Glens and what it is trying to do. And I'm only the keeper of the flame for the moment. I operate it on behalf of the community. So I'm always very open to whatever the community wants. I'll try and follow the best as I can. And that's channeled through our board of directors as well, of course.
In terms of that question, who the hell is he? Tell us a bit about yourself and your own origins in the...
Well, I ask myself that every morning when I wake up and look at the mirror. Who the hell are you? I suppose I'm 30 years working in the arts. I'm from Dublin originally, but I'm living west for 30 years now. So I've been rurally adapted, conditioned. Yeah, theatre primarily. I trained in theatre and directing. I've worked a lot in Galway, with various companies there, the Town Hall, Magnus, companies like that. Did a lot of work with TG Carr, both as in front of the screen and behind the screen. And I suppose I'm a bit of a poacher turned gamekeeper, in that I only turned an arts director in the last 6-7 years. I ran a beautiful centre up in a beautiful part of the country, up in Belmullet, and had a fantastic 5-6 years there, but it was time to come in from the cold, because Belmullet is very, very remote. And this job came up, went for it, and I'm delighted I got it. So, and I knew people here because there's a huge arts community here, so I knew people from over the years that were here.
Let's talk about some of the events and productions and courses and everything else that goes on here in the centre on a day-to-day basis. What's the bread and butter of the Glen Centre?
Well, our box office would only account for about 20-22% of our income, which is very low. It needs to be higher, and that's a challenge we face, a challenge I face, to try and get that higher, because about sustainability. We have good rental income, again, getting back to what the founders did. We get good rental income from businesses who rent from us here. Rental of our facilities is not huge, but it's significant enough, like I say. But part of the uniqueness about it is that whilst we are a front-facing art centre and that we programme 2 or 3 events, gigs every week, it's about community engagement as well. I think that's very, very important for, you know, small town Ireland and centres like us. Like there's one in Virginia, Ballybofey. There's lots of them around the country. And I think like we engage with about 17 community groups in the town, from the men's group, the women's group, intercultural forum, right across the board. And we're delighted to do that. So, you know, even like say the Wild Rose Festival, they'll rent offices from us here on a temporary basis. And I say to them, look, you don't have any money, we're the same. Whatever you have in the kitty, throw us a few bob, you know, and literally a few quid. But all that adds up. And I suppose, so it's multifaceted, and we're not reliant on any one thing, except our funding is very, very important. But we don't want to be dictated to by our funding either. You know, we want to be free to be able to do what we want to do as well. And I think that in community engagement is very, very important. Like we're getting more into residencies now, working with groups. We have the great Little John Nee working with the men's group at the moment on a collaboration with the Sculpture Centre. And
that's the Rain Shed, is it?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Which is very interesting. He's one of Ireland's most unique performers, and again comes from a rural background. But and he understands rural Ireland, and he was fascinated by the sheds of Leitrim, and he's come up with this, you know, fantastic soundscape piece that will be seen in the Sculpture Centre next month. So I suppose it's multidisciplinary and it's multifaceted, and whilst the programming then is very essential, very, very important for us as well. Like we engage with the schools, we do a huge amount of work with the schools, and our collaborative efforts with the Sculpture Centre is becoming more and more important, because down the road the Arts Council will see these things as working in clusters and collaborations rather than individual funding, and I think that's important to us. We're now part of Creative Counties, which is 6 centres: Roscommon, Hawkswell and Sligo, the Dock in Carrick, Backstage in Longford, and we've now set up this Creative Counties group, which is very, very, very important, I think, and it's going to be a great initiative, because there's strength in that coming together of the 6 counties, and we've got funding from Creative Ireland to develop that.
Now, we came in here earlier and we were nearly knocked over by the ladies coming into
Yes.
the active age group. How important are those community groups that you spoke about?
Well, on 2 levels. For us, they're very important, and it's we're engaging with various different elements of the community, and I think we must never forget that nobody owns the Glens, the community owns the Glens. It's a limited company. It operates for the community. Like last November when I came here, I was here about 6 months. I had an open night called A Lens on the Glens. We invited public artists to come in. We had over 70 people downstairs. It was fantastic. It's a lot of people see around a place like that's all for the arty crowd. That's not for me, and that's not. It's not. It's about the community. That's really what it is for. And so I wanted to hear their feedback. I wanted to hear and the reaction we got afterwards. The amount of emails I got, and because if people understand, you know, because there's nothing like, you know, you were saying after your event, you know, people come up saying, do you know what you should have done, whatever, like people, and you're like, do you think I didn't think of that? There's a reason we can't. But by having that discourse and finding, actually, there may be a way of doing this. So it's about them understanding what's in the operational end of things. It's not rocket science, but it is, you know, and money is always a big factor. And also reasons that you don't do certain things that people might think it's blindingly obvious. There's a reason we can't do it, because of financial constraints or strategic thinking. And whilst it's not about the amount of bums on seats that you have, we have to be very conscious of that too, because like I said earlier, our income from box is not sustainable. It never will be, because the population is not here. And there are towns in this country far bigger than Manorhamilton would kill for a facility like the Glens. So historically, we're lucky that it's here. And I say we, the community, and I feel part of the community now, and I've been very lucky that way. So I suppose, to use that dreaded term, going forward is about making sure of the sustainability of the centre. And people think, and that's the bottom line. That's a constant struggle to make sure it's sustainable. And luckily, I think with our new strategic plan that we've got professional development in, because we run an International Fund for Ireland cross-border project as well, and that's been able to fund us bringing in facilitators to work with the board and myself and the staff to put together a strategic plan, a part of which was that meeting we had, the public meeting we had last year, and I'm having another one in the first week in November, again to invite the community to come in and engage, discuss it, because I can't stress enough, it's for the community and for their input.
Let's talk a little bit about that open forum for people maybe who, like you said, who think they're maybe outside that group of people that use the Glens Centre. Why should they come along and have their input on that night?
Well, I think if the first thing they think that is who owns the Glens, and it gets back to what I was saying. The company is there to run the Glens, but it is on behalf of the community. I can't stress that enough. So I would like to think every person that lives in Manorhamilton and its surrounds has a vested interest in the Glens. The thing about the arts world is people think, that's not for me, that's the arty-farty crowd and I don't know what they're doing there. What we do here is, it's not magic, it's very simple. It's about entertainment, I like to think primarily, but also community engagement and development and understanding of issues and working with different groups. You know, like, you know, when you did your thing, which was in aid of Stop Northwest, that type of thing I think is very, very important, because to me, the arts has a great power for not just cultural interaction, but social interaction and human engagement on a human level. Sure, you can have, excuse the term, arty-farty elements to it, but on a level, arts is very, very simple. It's just about human discourse and interaction. So if anybody has any doubts, come along. See, it's an open forum and the place is open to everybody. And I will listen to, anybody with the simplest ideas, the most complex ideas. They don't always work. And I always like to say as well, people mention, what you should be doing. Great ideas are 2 a penny. We all have great ideas every day on the hour. But making them, realising them, that's the big challenge. And that's a more difficult thing. And, my job is to kind of see, okay, yeah, there's potential in that. We can do that. But sometimes there's no point in running down a cul-de-sac that that you've been down there before. You're not going to get it working. There's reasons to that. Like, say, the Arts Council see the Hawkswell in Sligo and the dock in Carrick-on-Shannon as front-facing. And I suppose what that means is they have big populations, so they can sustain it through box office. We can't. But because there's a huge artist community, and I mean that in terms of visual artists, writers, musicians, poets, whatever, and poets have a place in the world too, Breifne.
I didn't say
that we would become a support and a resource for those artists. But by doing that, it wouldn't be just exclusive for the artist. We will try and engage artists with the community so that the community can find a certain sense of expression and ownership of what goes on in the Glens.
Now, you're not just the arts director here as well. I know you've been involved in a couple of the productions, most notably on Trial, and you did use a couple of focal in your introduction last week at our event. You're a bit of a Gaelgoer?
Well, tá Gaeilge agam, and I think that's just because I moved to Galway. I had no Irish when I moved from Dublin, and I just got immersed.
TG Cacker had jobs going with spoken Irish.
Yeah, I got immersed in it, and so I just happened to speak it now, and I don't see any great mystery around the Irish language either, and I make it my place always to speak Irish when I'm here introducing shows. And it's funny, people like it. The amount of people that have come up to me and said, I don't really understand, it's lovely to hear it. And then apart from that, there is a very strong Irish language speaking community here, and we're running the Eig Shaclúnaín on the bank holiday weekend here. We have a full weekend of events. The first time the Glens took it over from the local group. I'm working with them, obviously. That'd be Russo Snuddy and Pryn Dignan and a number of others. And we have, it's all around food. We have 2 top-class chefs coming in. You'll see it on our website. We also have Manchan McGann. And there, again, like, people will go, food, is that art? Anything is art. There is an artistic element to food. And we're working with the W8 as well on that. So we hope to develop this over the next number of years, work with Fáilte Ireland. They're very, very interested in it. If we could make that a success, where you have a successful weekend looking at food and all its different aspects. Like I say, Moncon McGann, who a lot of people would know from TG Carr and from the radio, great travel writer, and he's going to do a show which is a funny look at Irish cooking. And the show is about 40% in Irish, 60% in English. So you wouldn't need a great level of Irish. And it's very, very funny. It's called Éimeachas a Rán, bread and butter, which is basically what our staple diet was for years. But, you know, we know there's an explosion now in the whole food industry and artistry, and it is. And as we see in the new Osta up there. So that's very exciting for us, and we would hope that would become an annual thing. Another big thing that the Arts Council, in fairness, and we're trying to do, is develop more festivals here, because it gets people in, to get people to visit the area, because I don't need to tell you, North Leitrim is the most stunning area, and it's still an undiscovered gem. Now, when I say that to people, go, oh, yeah, we wanted to stay that way, but it'd be nice to have a few more, share it a little bit more.
A little bit more people, a little bit more money coming in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bit of a bigger population.
Yeah, because it's vital to the sustainability of the community. Absolutely, yeah.
We'll go back to the first half of the question I asked you, which I kind of deviated away from with the Gaeilge question, but in terms of Untitled, you were producing or directing or both?
So Untitled, it's on the Leaving Cert syllabus, and I worked with a company called Phoebe in Connemara. They're the biggest, I suppose, the only teenage company working really directly for teenagers, because children market is saturated in a lot of ways, an adult, but getting teens to engage with theatre is a difficult thing, because it's kind of, you know, they're that difficult.
It's too cool for school,
yeah,
literally. Yeah.
It's a little, that demographic. And so we've had this show on the road for 15 years now, I think, and it goes on a national tour. So what I said to Phoebe was, you know, I still engage with them a lot. I said, how about we bring it up here? We re-rehearse it here. We have all the facilities here, and again, it's great. We've a great technical crew here, and it goes out and it plays big theatres, like it plays in Cork, Dublin, Galway, Limerick, and you know, it's a big show. Now, we can't quite fit it in here, but we do our best to get it in, and then the local schools came down and they were delighted to have it on their doorstep, because they'd be travelling normally to go and see it. We reckon at this stage it's in the hundreds of thousands that have seen this show. You have a captive audience, but it's very different. We use puppets, masks, commedia dell'arte type movement and style, and what it does is it shows that, you know, you can do something through Van de Gaeilge, through Irish, that's, you know, a little bit experimental, a little bit out there. It's good fun, and they see a production of something that could be quite turgid in the classroom, that comes to alive. We always get a fantastic, like the emails you get back, and, you know, people saying, God, I didn't think you could do something like that with it. And we try and bring as much humour out in it.
There's not a lot of humour in that play.
There isn't. There is very little humour. You've obviously suffered it.
Well, worse or better, I'm not quite sure. I think I opened it one night and I had a line or two lines in it in my own school days back on the Hawkswell, stage of the Hawkswell. It's the only time I've ever been on the stage of the Hawkswell. Right. And I said, I was memory is escaping me now, it's over 20 years ago, but I think I was the paper boy at the very start.
Yes, that's right.
Opens the show.
Yeah, Garsoon Nuachtan, the paper boy.
Yeah, that was me. Yeah. And I had two lines. I had the same.
Trago du Fásach.
I can't even remember. Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Terrible tragedy.
Yeah. And I think I said it twice, and then I was off stage. That was it. Yeah. So yeah, no, it was.
But I'm sure you made it your own.
Oh, I'm not so sure. There's a reason why I only had the two lines. In terms of where the future of the centre goes, what's next for the Glens Centre? How do you grow it here? What's the plan?
Yeah, very good point. And that'll be, hopefully, we'll get a chance to discuss that with our public who come next month. So we're working on a strategic plan. So given the Arts Council feeling in that there is not a population base here to be bringing in big acts or big shows, and their argument is, if you want to see a big act, a big show, you have the Hawkswell 25 minutes one way, the Dock 30 minutes the other, and they have the budget to bring in these big acts. So our residencies are going to become more and more important, whereby we bring in artists who will work with the community, and then something will be created out of that. It might be a show, like with Little John Nee, it's now turning into a short film. Another element we want to do is there's going to be an investment made in sound equipment here and film equipment for the Sculpture Centre, and we're going to work together with Leitrim County Council to try and develop a film attract the film industry to come and shoot stuff here, because you have the most amazing landscape.
Scenery is just
absolutely.
amazing. Yeah.
But you also do for us to develop the expertise on the ground here as well. Like we have a lad in Jonas Dello, and he's brilliant. He did a sound production course here, and now we have him on a community employment scheme, and he's developing his skills to try and develop skills for locals and keep them here. I mean, that's the challenge for all small rural communities, towns around the country, is to keep the youth, you know, and that there is a sustainable employment for them. Now, we work in a particular niche area, which is the arts, but the arts is very, very important. We would hope to make the arts very, very important to this area, that it would attract people in. It is attracting more artists, but also people would come here to get the full cultural experience. And we're working very, very closely with Reds, the local town team committee here. We did a presentation last week for them, so that it's not seen as just a place you go to see a show once or twice a year, that hopefully it will develop more, that, like I say, communities will engage with us more, that they'll be more proactive in what we do here, in producing their own stuff, perhaps, whatever that may be. It could be a food event, it could be the active age group. You know, we will run a series of events in Baltana for the active age group, and that type of thing. We're not. It's just not viable to expect that our box office will increase hugely. But so therefore, the concentration of engagement with the community, whether it's through schools, whether it's through community groups, that becomes more and more important to the centre and its activities.
What are some of the productions that you're most looking forward to in the coming weeks?
Well, I suppose it's something, you know, I suppose every director brings something to it. I'm a big classical music fan. I've started a series of classical music gigs. I got the RTE Contempo Quartet were here in January. But again, not just they did a recital here, but they also went up to the local St. Clair school and did workshops with it, and that was amazing. I got money from Culture Ireland to do that. I have Finian Collins, one of our greatest pianists, is coming next February. Very lucky to get him. Because the amazing thing is, when it can be the greatest artist in the world, when they come to the Glens, they're always blown away by the atmosphere. It's small, it's intimate, but because it's that old Methodist church, the acoustics are absolutely second to none. And what we do here as well, I think we put a nice personal touch with the staff to it, to make people feel welcome. Our facilities are not top class in terms of green room or anything like that, but that they feel welcome and they get a really natural experience coming to it. We have a number of Christmas events coming up. A live crib. We're going to be using the youth theatre here. We run 3 youth theatres, which are fantastic. And we'll have live animals, very evocative soundtrack. It's not going to be like acting out. There's no dialogue in it or anything like that. And I don't see it in terms of having any particular religious or spiritual element to it, other than it's a beautiful experience. Just to come in, because it's a great story, so you can be a believer, a non-believer. And I think it's going to be a lovely, lovely experience. So it's that type of thing that we want to develop. We have a big Christmas show put on by Rabbit's Riot. We have 3 resident theatre companies. And again, you were saying, what's our strategy going forward, is to develop people's skills within the arts. We have Splother, run by Pryn Dignan, who operate primarily in Irish but also in English, and their first Protestant show has been on tour around the country. It's a fantastic show. We have Exit Does Theatre under Paddy McEnany, and again, he had his first professional show here. And Rabbit's Riot, who are a local group run by Trassa Neelan and Sonia Norris, and they do great work, and they're going to do a big Christmas show in conjunction with the Glens here over the Christmas. And of
Ramlet's
course,
Riot are one that have actually come to my attention a good bit over the last
Yeah.
couple of months, because they do slightly different things. I know
Absolutely,
they've lit
they're
up
fantastic.
Glencar Waterfall. They've done stuff on the lake there at Parks Castle.
Yeah.
They're just a little bit different.
they're fantastic. The Tras and Sonia, they're just great enthusiasm, great energy, great ideas. And I suppose our part in that would be to help them develop those ideas and develop their skills. You know, they'd be the first ones to say, look, we're just starting out. But they got recognised last year by Leitrim County Council. They got a Creative Leitrim Award. And I think that's very important, and I think it's a great initiative by the County Council in recognition of the work that they're doing. They have fantastic ideas around doing outdoor spectacles, and for the last 2 years, since before my time, they've been doing the Christmas show here, which is just great fun and very, very inventive, working off very limited budgets, you know, but it's very inventive stuff that they do, very clever and just great fun. And again, they have a huge community engagement in it. They even had our own Joe McLaughlin here taking part as the Dame last year, and he was scarily beautiful.
I'm sure he'll listen to this. He'll be very happy. The 10 euros will be on your desk.
Yeah. But also, you know, we're delighted. It actually hasn't really been publicised much, but already selling well. We have Tommy Tiernan coming to the Bee Park on the 21st of November. Because we can fit in about 350 there, and Tommy is very kindly giving the proceeds towards our development fund here in the Glens. So.
Is there more opportunities for you to use venues like that for the exceptional event that's a little bit larger than the average?
Yes, that would be exactly what I would be hoping to do. Like, this will be the first time we've done the Glens has done anything like this, and you know, working with Jerry Creamer in the Bee Park, and so that I would hope that the Tommy Tiernan gig would be a great success, and no doubt it will be. And then other comedians will go, oh, that's an interesting place to play. Because again, you know, people seem to think, you know, the big artists of the world, you know, the Tommy Tiernans, the Finian Collins, who plays concert halls all over the world, they love the reality of coming to a place that is just real, you know, that's rooted in the community. There's no stiff upper lip about it, and they love that experience. They genuinely do. I mean, I think Tommy has played the Glenfarne Ballroom a number of years ago, and you know, he loved it. Just, you know, it's so unique. So yeah, so that other comedians might go, oh yeah, that'd be a great spot to play, you know, like a different, fun, and we get an audience for them, you know.
And he's playing mid-November.
21st of November.
He's always a great night out.
Yeah,
even like him or loathe him, he's still very funny.
He's brilliant. Yeah.
But listen, Brendan Murray, Director of the Glens Centre here in Manorhamilton, it's been an absolute pleasure shooting the breeze with you for the last half hour or so, and it's great to kind of get a little bit of a tour around the centre. Before we wrap up, you might just tell us what's actually here in terms of facilities, in terms of I know there's an auditorium, but just take us on a little walk through the centre. Yeah,
so we have, well, people will come in. We have the auditorium, which seats 130. We have retractable seating, which is great because sometimes we can then do it out in a cabaret style with candles on the tables if we've an audience about 40, 50, and it gives it a great intimacy. Seamus O'Rourke is here tomorrow night and the following night, and you know, that'll be packed, so we'll have the full seating out. Then very limited backstage area, and we're hoping that's where, you know, some of the money for development will be to try and open that out a little bit more in the backstage area. But then up on the second and third floors, we have a training room, which is also a rehearsal space, but which is also rented out to community groups that, you know, might run seminars or you know, meetings, whatever. And we have 3 other offices, one of which is used by the IFI, Across the Lines International Fund for Ireland project. And then out the back we have 3 offices and 1 apartment. The apartment is used by artists. It's a great thing that we can offer them to stay overnight. It makes it easier for them to travel. They'll go, great.
Cuts their living costs down.
Absolutely.
In the arts world, that can't be underestimated as well.
You are absolutely right, Breifne. You see, people think, why don't you get so-and-so on the go? Because it costs them to come here. But if you can offer, you can just say, well, look, we have an apartment and it's nice. We got it done up recently. Money from Leader, thank you, Leader. And then downstairs, the Leitrim Development Company rent space, you know, Integrated Forum, there's various different groups rent space. And that income is very important to us as well. But again, we're engaging with the community and we're offering something out there as well. So that's what we have in a nutshell. Our space is very, very limited. It's not, we don't have the capacity around us to expand, but we make full use of it. You know, you were saying you were amazed by the activity here. Yeah, from September right through till April, it's busy all the time. It's not just the showtime nights. They're the icing on the cake, if you like. It's like weekends. Like Leitrim County Council were on to me. They wanted to run a seminar, and I said I don't have a date for you in October, November, daytime at all. Between youth theatres, community groups, all in, just didn't have the space. You know, which is a nice complaint.
It is, until the paymasters and they're like,
Indeed.
well, we want the funding next year. Brendan Murray of the Glens Centre, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you for the last half hour.
Thank you, Breifne, and can I wish you well? I think what you're doing is absolutely amazing. It's very, very impressive. It's fantastic.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the kind words. This, of course, is Kiss My Arts. We have been in the Glens Centre in Manorhamilton today, and I will be back tomorrow with a review of the sporting weekend. Talk to you then.